Architect David Miller has overseen some of the largest projects ever built in Hawaii. Now he's working with the AHED Foundation to tackle one of the biggest problems facing people from every walk of life here, affordable housing. Yet he's optimistic about the future, as you'll hear in this next segment.
My name is David Miller. I'm an architect, and I am currently principal and chairman of AHL, Architects Hawaii Limited. Our firm was founded here in Hawaii in 1946, and it has grown with the state of Hawaii over a long period of time. I joined the firm in 1971, originally a New Yorker, and sort of grew up on the East Coast and worked in various places, including New York, Boston, San Francisco, Rome, Africa. Did a lot of travel. In my past life before, having met some architects from Honolulu at a convention in Boston, and got interested in kind of the new frontier of what Hawaii was at the time and its directions. From the time I was a little kid, I always loved to draw. And as I got a little bit older, I felt like I wanted to be an artist. My parents said that that's one idea and they would support me in whatever I wanted to do, but they also suggested that I can look at art as a vehicle and look at related professions, and they mentioned architecture. And I got very excited about the idea of people and communities. And of course art does that, it does relate to people, but yes, you have to go to a museum, you have to look at a picture, whereas architecture is about living in an environment that gives you substance and for your soul as well as your functioning as a human being. I was particularly interested in joining this firm because I saw it as a firm that had the capability and experience of doing large complex projects. That's always been my passion. I'd rather do one big project for 5 or 6 years than 5 or 6 small projects for 1 year each. And I've been very fortunate in my career here to be able to have done that. My first big project was the federal building complex here in Honolulu. I was the project architect for that project, and on it from beginning until Lady Bird Johnson cut the ribbon and opened the building in 1977. And since then, a lot of projects have been large, including Disney Aulani out at Ko'olina, the Marriott project out there, Kamakana Aliti, the retail complex, lots of retail work, shops at Wailea, shops at Kukui'ula, shops at Monolani, and towers, including Symphony Honolulu and also the Velocity Auto Galleria inside. Currently the IO Tower for Howard Hughes, and the Whole Foods, the large Whole Foods that just opened. Being from New York, I grew up in an environment in which there was a great deal of mixture of people in all of my life experiences. And so I see Honolulu with its phenomenally rich cultural and mix of all kinds of different people from different backgrounds and also different income levels as being a real positive in everybody's life experience of living and working and knowing each other. So if we look at affordable housing, Symphony as an example includes the affordable housing component within a single tower along with the rest of the units which we term market rate units. You know, my passion for the urban quality of life goes back not only to New York, but to an organization that is a national and international organization called the Urban Land Institute. We've never had a chapter or a district council here for many years, and a few of us here in town, people from different business sectors, got together and decided that we should have one, and we formed it. That was about 15 years ago. So I've been very active in the Urban Land Institute. With that in mind, I got to know Paul and Scott's passion for affordable housing, and it fit very much with my passions and with the value system of the Urban Land Institute in terms of approaching good solutions for cities and how they should grow and prosper. Affordable housing is a national issue. It always has been, but particularly over the past 10 years, as cities are really mushrooming and a lot of new ideas and new concepts about walkability, about sustainability, about saving the planet, about all these kinds of things that we always hear and read about, are also including live, work, play, which basically means that there's a sort of a efficiency and a sort of a nice energy. And so in Honolulu, right now, there is a wonderful coming together of government and the private sector in looking for ways to cooperate. And we hear the words public-private partnership and various other things like that to make all the good things happen. We try to attract good staff here. Many are local young people in the company. Some move here, and they have a tough time, actually. It's quite difficult for young people to afford to live here in Hawaii. I have 3 children. They're all in their 30s and early 40s now. They're all quite well settled in terms of their careers. They were all born here, but none of them chose to live here. And I think that a factor in their choices had to do with affordability. And so many of our friends say the same thing. And I think it's extremely important that together in our community, all of us work together to solve that issue as much as we can. Land cost is often variable depending upon the location. And so if we look at things like the transit system that's coming in areas that might not be right in downtown, but very convenient to the stations, the land there wouldn't be as expensive as it would be if it were right in downtown. And by the government offering some incentives, there can now be what we call TOD, transit-oriented development, which would include a great deal of affordable housing in the areas around the new station. So that's another approach. And all of those are terrific ideas and terrific approaches, and they're all kind of happening now. As our city is getting better, I feel, than maybe it's been in a very, very long time of the 46 years that I've lived here, with people biking to work, with people walking, with people not needing 3 cars, but maybe 1. And all those opportunities enable us to live in a much more rich way and a more convenient way.